Hi everyone, this is Tevi, live from Franklin. This is Pacific Theater, Part 1. And we're opening up with this quote, "The sleeping giant is awake." So, I don't know if you guys remember, after Pearl Harbor, Admiral Yamamoto said this. And I just want you guys to put down on your guided notes, under that first question, what do you think this means? Alright guys, this next slide has some bullets that we're going to go over in your guided notes where it says define island hopping. So I want you guys to put down that it was our strategy to, jump from island to island to get closer and closer to mainland Japan. So that was our objective, is to go from island to island. So guys, put down in your first blank that Admiral Nimitz, you've heard of him, he takes charge. He's the commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. And I want you guys to think about if you've ever been snorkeling or scuba diving and what those reefs look like underwater and what that could do to soldiers and to boats. So I want you to put down under that next blank, guys, that the water was too shallow for carriers to get over without being damaged. So the first place that we set our sight on was the next bullet, guys. We'll say the attack on the Tarawa Atoll. And so it's also known as the Gilbert Islands. Gilbert Islands. So this is November of '43. The reef here, guys, the coral reef, caused troops to wade in the water, right, so their ships wouldn't get hurt, in this lagoon about 300 yards from shore. So it was really perfect for the Japanese as a defensive mechanism. Put down 300 Japanese troops defended this island. We were finally able to take it within 3 days, but there were casualties, 64 dead and 150 were wounded. But that was our first island that we were able to successfully jump from. Alright, let's keep going to the next bullet, guys, the use of the Amtrak. It's also known as the alligator, and I want you to put down that it was invented in the 1930s to rescue people from the Florida swamps. The Navy caught on pretty quick that this would help them in the Pacific and bought 200 of these Amtraks in 1941. So guys, our next island that we hop on is called Kwajalein. You can also just know it as the Marshall Islands. This is January of '44. So guys, these were given to Japan after World War I, so they had plenty of time to fortify them. So you can put that down in your guided notes. So we had to use heavier air and naval bombardment than we did at the Gilbert Islands. We even used frogmen, which were early Navy SEALs. So guys, underwater divers, checking out the territory. So actually, guys, put down that there were less casualties than during the Gilbert Island attack. So these early Navy SEALs definitely helped us. And lastly, under this bullet, guys, between June and August of 1944, we were, doing this island hopping campaign. We had finally secured these naval bases in the Mariana Islands. This is important, guys, put down because it allows our B-29s to start bombing Japan. It also allows for an attack on the Philippines, which we'll get to in just a moment. So lastly, guys, put down the Japanese needed these islands for shipping routes. So there was a great increase of Japanese suicide missions, which we'll define in just a moment, and lots of anti-American propaganda in Japan. So that's just a little conclusion, guys, for that first section called Define Island Hopping. So let's keep going. Okay, so now some of those names might make sense from the previous slide. So here's the Marshall Islands, remember Kwajalein, the Gilbert Islands. We're going to be soon heading to the Solomon Islands here, and then here's the Mariana Islands. Please analyze what you see here, perhaps even the proximity to Australia, or what you're seeing overall in this picture, and just write down one of your observations down where it says on your guided notes to write down one observation. Alright guys, and let's go on to MacArthur. Alright guys, in the next section called MacArthur Returns. So he attacks Guadalcanal, which is east of New Guinea. Put down, guys, also known as the Solomon Islands. I showed you that on the map previously, which is east of New Guinea, and this is really August 42 to February of 43. Next bullet, guys, put down that they were a chain of islands northeast of Australia. It's a good way to figure out where they are. So chain of islands northeast. And I want you guys to put down that they had dense jungle, mountains, numerous streams, rough terrain. Next bullet, guys, we had to stop Japan from building an air base there. Think about the strategy and the location of the Philippines for us and Japan. So the U.S., guys, next launches an attack and keeps Japan away from our supply lines. This is key. It allows troops to be supplied while the Japanese are starving. So we're slowly trying to weaken our enemy. So next, guys, the battle, it's spelled here, guys, Leyte Gulf. Put that down in the next bullet. We're finally able to take back the Philippines. I don't know if you guys remember, but MacArthur, was evacuated after the Bataan disaster, and his famous quote was, "I shall return." So he makes his comeback. This battle here is pictured below, guys. This was a series of battles where Japan used, put down in your next blank, guys, kamikaze attacks. It's spelled up here. This means, guys, please define it in Japanese as divine wind. And it refers to a Mongolian invasion 7 centuries earlier, prior to a storm. So please put down your next blank, guys. They believed that they were, divine interventions. So kamikazes were divine interventions. Worthy way to end your life. So, guys, during this series of battles, the U.S. lost quite a few. We were not very organized, but by March of 45, the Philippines is back under our control. So it also kind of ended the Japanese fleet as an organized fighting force. Certainly they were nowhere near surrendering, but they definitely lost their momentum. Okay, guys, we're on to page 2 of your guided notes, the Battle of Iwo Jima. So here are some photos and some bullets that go along with our guided notes. So, guys, it's really important to know that the U.S. needed a closer naval base to bomb Japan. And so the island of Iwo Jima, it really was halfway between the Mariana Islands and Japan. And you can describe it kind of here as pork chop shaped, or any other way you want to describe it, but I kind of think of it as a pork chop. And you guys also should know about the terrain. Rough terrain, put that in the blank. Rocky cliffs and caves, those were key. Also, guys, it was covered in ash from volcanoes. Fill that in that next blank. And it was connected by underground tunnels, which were, both natural and also some man-made traps. What's really important about this battle, guys, is the Japanese soldiers were ordered to die there for Japan. No surrender. And they were also told to kill 10 Americans before they died. So, we'll try to watch a clip of the Battle of Iwo Jima. It's heavy, guys. 6,800 Americans were killed. Our B-29s, guys, fill in the blank there, used napalm for the first time to firebomb Japan. So it's really a mixture of jellied gasoline that would explode and then set more fires. So that's how we were able to fight back with the napalm. And, guys, check out the famous photograph here. It's from Flags of Our Fathers, taken on site at Okinawa. And I do want you to just describe it. But I also, for bonus, just want you to know, put down if you know if it's staged or if it's real. Alright, you don't really have to write anything down, guys, but please look at these images from Iwo Jima. Just think about 60,000 men landing on this little island. And sinking in volcanic ash, so like no foothold, right, to grab onto. They were shot at by the Japanese. They used flamethrowers to attack the bunkers. Remember, we were able to secure the airfields with the use of napalm. We didn't always have to hit the target, right, because the fire would do the job for us. But during this battle, guys, the U.S. is able to begin firebombing Tokyo. And this killed 80,000 people in Tokyo and destroyed over 250,000 buildings. So guys, by 1945, Japan's 6 most important industrial cities were firebombed and destroyed almost half of their urban area. Alright, my peeps, I know I'm over time, but remember I didn't give you much homework this week, so I'm going to try to finish up soon. This is really important, guys. This is the invasion of Okinawa. It says here on the PowerPoint slide, it's the bloodiest and last major battle in the Pacific. So some of these bullets will go along with our final part on the guided notes, guys. So Okinawa, guys, please fill in, was 350 miles from Japan. So really it's the last line of defense. Everything is at stake. So April 1st, 1945 to June 22nd, 1945. There is no sign, guys, fill in, of Japanese surrender. So 60,000 U.S. troops then attack Okinawa. Over 12,000 Americans died. It was put down, guys, it was a really tough battle both on shore and even tougher at sea, guys, because of the kamikazes. So Okinawa was finally captured at a heavy, heavy cost. I'll give you guys some numbers. So I put down, 36,321 were wounded. You can fill that in. For the Marines, guys, 2,938 were dead, and 13,708 were wounded. So fill those in. And guys, for the Navy, 4,907 were killed, and 4,874 were wounded. Amazingly, guys, 107,000 Japanese died at Okinawa. So guys, make sure you know this was the longest and bloodiest battle in the Pacific. And last bullet, guys, is this was why the U.S. begins to look for another option to end the war. Because even after all of Japan's losses, they are showing no sign of surrendering. This is Tevi signing off in Franklin. I will post this now, guys, and please make sure you listen carefully and fill out your guided notes. Thank you and have a great night.